Good morning. Hello, Lamp. Lamp is already spamming the chat. Hello, MD. Good morning. Good to see you. Also, I like the hello. I was like a minute late because when I was coming down the stairs, I accidentally spilled some of my espresso. So I had to go make sure I clean that up because I would imagine espresso stains carpet pretty bad. All right. Well, we're here regardless. Spilled espresso or no spilled espresso. It might happen again. It could be boring, so prepare yourself. I make no guarantees about the entertainment value of my stream. Hey sir, please, if you have some time, please take a look at Discord. I have a problem with cat something snapshot on a dynamic image. Oh, that sounds like it's above my pay grade. Well, I'm looking right now. Let's see. NFT card generator is what we're talking about. Let's see. I'm working on the NFT card export feature. The current issue is that when I generate a PNG, it doesn't look exactly like the web preview. Oh, you're using HTML. You're using a canvas element. That's pretty cool. I want the exported PNG to be visually identical to the web preview. Let's see, expand. I'm taking a look at your file right now. You're using window get computed style. Nice. Not very many people know that API exists, honestly. Do you have, hey MD, do you have an example of like, can you put a screenshot in there of like the image that you see on the page versus the image that gets exported? Would you mind doing that? Good morning, Artwork Studios. How are you? Glad you're here, man. Yeah, Lamp, go work on your Discord bot, man. Get it. That's what we're all here to do. Work on our projects, so go do it. Faux show. Faux show. But yeah, MD, that sounds interesting. I see what you're doing. It doesn't look overly complex. Why though a canvas? If I had to guess, it has something to do probably with the scaling. If I had to guess, the height width of the canvas translated to the PNG. I've never used HTML to canvas before though. Is that npm package? I'm assuming. But I'd love to see a visual example of like what the delta is. That'd be great. I want to talk while working, but my phone's battery is not the best, and the charger I'm using so far is far from my PC. Trying to find power bank. No worries, man. You don't have to worry about the battery. You don't have to worry about tending to the battery. If the battery fails you, so be it, you know? Oh, this is like a cool little, oh wow, it's got 31,000 GitHub stars. Look at that. Let's see, documentation. So for context, MD sent me a message in our Discord, which if you're new here and you'd like to join our Discord, you're welcome to do so. Discord.stephenfreeborn.com is where you can find us. But he's basically having an issue where there's like a delta between what he's seeing on the page and what this library is exporting for him. Let's see, the script traverses through the DOM of the page it is loaded on. It gathers information on all the elements there, which it then uses to build a representation of the page. Excuse me, in other words, it does not actually take a screenshot of the page, but builds a representation of it based on the properties it reads from the DOM. Yeah, HTML canvas can be finicky to work with. And I'm assuming that's what this thing's doing under the hood, is it's manipulating. Is there a GitHub link? Here we go. Let's see. Source index.ts. So it's in TypeScript. Nice. Hey, we love a good TypeScript library. Oh shoot, I forgot to turn off my alarm. Alright, there we go. Alarm's turned off. I wish I could make one so nice. You mean make a power bank? I don't think you want to play around with lithium-ion batteries. So the only difference I see, MD, is the I mean, maybe I have like bad eyes, maybe I'm getting old. But the only difference I really see in the image versus the do you mind if I show this on screen? MD. I don't want to show it on stream without you telling me, but if you're cool with me showing the images and stuff, I will give everybody else some context. Okay, hold on. I missed a couple messages here. So Lamp said sorry for feeling spammy. Oh no, you're not feeling spammy, man. I mean, sometimes like when you send 10 messages within like a 1 minute, clip, that's a little spammy. It's not necessarily spammy, it's just hard for me to keep up with. So if I miss your messages, I apologize. Let's see. How do I make a good GUI for my Python project? It's hard because I don't write a ton of Python. The only GUI library that I've used in the Python world is called Tinctor, I think. Tinctor. That's the only one I've seen. Now, I don't know how far you can push this thing to produce a Python GUI, but it seems like you could get reasonably nice GUIs, to do basic forms and controls and that sort of thing. So you might try that library. Let's see, so that's the only one I've actually used. But I'm sure there's other ones out there. Let's see, Python GUI. Maybe Anvil looks like a package. This is for building web apps. There's literally a package called Nice GUI. That's hilarious. Yeah, that's my only recommendation at the moment, though, for you. I love Tinctor. There you go. So our work studios know what I'm talking about. Suha said Tinctor is shit. Well, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to tell you. I don't use Python that much, and most of the GUIs I haven't built. Well, shit, I haven't built a single GUI that isn't web-based, you know? So almost every GUI I've ever built has been JavaScript, CSS, HTML. So I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry I recommended a shit package, okay? Don't come for me. I don't know what you want from me. I don't know what happened. Oh, MD said I can show it. Okay, so this is the image that MD has on the page, right? So it's like a card. It's a very nice card. I love the border radius. If your cards don't have border radius, fuck you. Yeah, it's a very nice card. And then here's the image that he's getting. And so the only delta I really see is obviously you're losing the shadow. There's some sort of box shadow, it looks like, coming off the main card div. And then it also looks like there's a texture being lost on the top left. But other than that, it looks pretty good. If I had to guess, you're probably losing the box shadow for some technical reason. Maybe not being able to translate the box shadow to something you can paint on an HTML element. If it was me, I'd probably call it good enough. I have no idea why that's happening though. So I have no idea. I'm at a loss. But it looks fairly close. I only really see a couple differences. The little iridescent glowing box shadow is missing, and then that kind of texture in the top left corner. And I'm not sure what what the structure of your page looks like. You know, like your HTML and all that good stuff, but yeah. Something. I don't know, man. You have to do a little digging through the source code. Or you could also like strip one of the things I usually do whenever I'm debugging things like that is I usually will strip down the examples. Because you have quite a bit of things going on that card. So one thing I'll usually do is I'll just try to do like a process of elimination. Like remove things. Remove all the things that are being copied properly and leave the things that aren't being copied properly. Or set up like a minimal reproducible example of the elements from your HTML that you don't, or the aspects of your HTML that aren't being copied properly to the PNG. Like for example, the box shadow, like demonstrate that in a very small example. And if you can't quite figure it out yourself, then you might share that reproducible example on the GitHub issue and see if someone isn't happy to help you. Let's see, let's just do a quick search. Box shadow. Maybe there's a limitation here. Let's see, this says SVG elements not present in output are using SVGs. Maybe that's... Looks like this guy was having issues with position absolute. Huh. Yeah, I'm not. I'm trying to avoid getting nerd sniped by this problem. uh, but I'm gonna leave it up to you, MD, to do a little bit of debugging and troubleshooting, and I'm gonna go back to my AI agent. Let's see. We're talking about video games. Now I kind of feel sad when Steven doesn't look at my messages above for the 4th time in a row. Man, I love Lip. You're coming across a little desperate, man. I'm not going to be able to give you all the one-on-one attention it looks like you are desiring. So I will try my best to read your messages, but between reading other people's messages and also trying to code and do things on stream and have thoughts other than, oh my God, I need to read Lamp's messages. You're just gonna have to bear with me, man. Let's see. Yeah, so after reading lots of HTML to Canvas ADN, it says HTML Canvas doesn't capture dynamic CSS colors, although I'm freezing everything before capturing screenshot. Ah, interesting. Well, there you go. Maybe you just come up against a technical limitation, you know? All right, first espresso shot is down. Second one's up. Steven, look at Desmos. What's Desmos? Desmos. Okay, look, I'll run a quick search on that Forge script trust. Here you go. I'm gonna Google it. I have no idea what this means or what any of it is, but I searched it. I searched it up. But yeah, I'm not. Your assumption should not be that because I didn't read your message that I'm ignoring it. That's not that's like a bad default assumption. So just your assumption should be, oh, he just missed it. No worries. Like, let's just move on. Let's see. I think you will like it. Desmos graphic calculator. What? Oh, it's a graphing calculator. This thing? Am I in the right place? Is this like a y equals mx plus b situation? Like that? God, this takes me back to my school days, man. I haven't done graphing like this. I mean, fucking in forever. Is this what you're talking about? Demos bad apple is cool. ng tontai, do a fast fetch. Okay, here you go. Fast fetch. NeoFetch is better. Does NeoFetch work on Windows? That's NeoFetch Windows. Yes, it does. But why does it say it's archived? Suhas, are you trying to get me to use deprecated tools? This repository was archived by the owner on April 26, 2024. I probably need to go through some of my repositories and archive some of them. They use it as a game engine? What the fuck? The graphing calculator? They use it as a game engine? Let's see. Desmos graphing game engine. That's pretty cool. I wrote a game engine for the Desmos graphing calculator. Like, who has this time on their hands where they're just like, hold on, what? Your request has been rate limited. Please take it. I just got here. How am I rate limited? All right, fair enough, Reddit. Fine. I guess I won't see the game engine in all its glory. Sorry, I was also tired this morning. Kind of felt some harassment again, but it's fine. Yeah, man. Hey, look, we all have our lives. I'm sure shitty things happen to all of us. Sorry that happens to you, but just breathe, man. Just breathe. I would just ask that you don't bring any shitty attitude that you might have in your real life into my stream. I mean, while I have empathy for having bad days, it's just don't come and try to ruin all of ours. Bad, Steven. There's input, there's output, so people think, game engine. And they actually do it. I mean, that's impressive, man. I'm over here struggling through writing an AI slop generator, and people are out there just crushing game engines with graphing calculators. I forgot to fix the NeoVim thing. Damn it. I need to look into this, why this is happening. I don't know why this is happening. Okay, so we have, where we ended yesterday was we got the writer working, or at least we got the writer to a point where it's actually returning a partially written blog. I am Ron Burgundy. Oh, Suas, that's so kind. Yes, Lamp, we hope your day improves. We hope you do not suffer no more harassment. Only good vibes sent your way. Yeah, sometimes life is shitty, man. And oftentimes, unfortunately, it seems like things typically come in batches, you know? Like, it seems like bad things, it's always like a series of unfortunate events, like Lemony Snicket's. It's always a couple things. And I don't know if that's because when you have a negative experience, it then puts you in a mindset where you notice other negative things occurring. But yeah, it seems like you have days where you feel like you cannot catch a break. Do you guys mind if we look at a YouTube video on stream real quick? I know it's kind of weird, like, to have you watching me watch a video, so I just want to be, if y'all aren't interested in it, you don't have to. Oh, it's kind of long too. It's 16 minutes. Maybe I'll just share it with you guys. This Suha shared this video with me in Discord. Let's see, copy. I'll probably watch it later today at some point. Abdullah, sure. Okay, yeah, you guys don't mind? A series of unfortunate events was amazing. Yes, that is a great series of books. Abdullah doesn't care. What do you think? What do I think about what? Good try, make it better. Life is branching path. A branching path. Go to the good branches. That's a good way to think of it. Yeah, I always say the way I always say it is, you know, I guess I kind of frame it that same way. This idea of like branching paths, like you have good stuff that happens, right? Like legitimately shitty experiences, legitimate crappy things that give you actually good excuses for why you're not doing things or aren't accomplishing things or can't get things done. Like you have all those things. But then at the same time you have the good things. And so focusing on the bad things really does nothing for you. So you might as well focus on the good. Doesn't mean that it doesn't make the bad non-existent. It just doesn't serve you, right? So in terms of like what you said about picking the good branches, like you just kind of have to make a conscious decision that, you know, the bad stuff just kind of is what it is, but you're gonna choose to spend your time on good things. All right, so this is a video. This is a video at Suhas sent this in our Discord. And it's about the AI bubble. So let me pull this over here. If any of you guys don't know, Hate Green is he's a fairly successful, I mean, he is successful and he's a fairly well-known YouTuber content creator on the internet. And he made this video about the state of the AI industry. And Suha sent me this last night. I haven't watched this, but I'd like to hear his take on the bubble. So I'm going to stop this for a minute.
Time for me to parse. And once I did, it kind of terrified me. I'm going to show it to you as well. What a good little visual.
Yeah, I brought this up on stream like a week or two ago about this visual. This is from a Bloomberg article that's kind of like showing the circular nature of the deal flow in AI. And so I'm curious to get his take on it.
Visualization we have on our hands here. How NVIDIA and OpenAI fuel the AI money machine. So very quickly, to explain, NVIDIA makes the chips that do the compute that creates the artificial intelligence systems. OpenAI is the biggest company that creates the systems that use those chips to create artificial intelligence systems that do stuff. Not just the chatbot, but also all of the other things that it does, including, Sora 2, which you've heard my opinion on. And then there's Microsoft, you've heard of them. AMD is another chip maker like NVIDIA, Oracle, and a few others in here like CoreWeave, possibly some others. I actually don't know what all these companies are. I think Nscale might be one as well, but it's the little dot. Oracle and CoreWeave, at least, are the companies that have built.
Our Work Studio said, I wasn't looking on stream and thought that man talking was you, so I was thinking, wow, Steven got a voice change. Yeah, me and his voice do sound, well, we both kind of have,
like the data centers, and they buy chips.
We kind of both have a little bit more nasally voices, but yeah, they're definitely distinct.
From NVIDIA, and then they like lease out the compute. They sell that. So basically, Intel and AMD and NVIDIA sell chips to the AI companies or to the data center companies, and then the data center companies sell the compute to the AI companies. Sometimes the middleman running the data center is there, sometimes it's not there. But in either
Also, if the 1.5 speed bothers you, just let me know, but I figure we can get through this a little faster.
case, NVIDIA is doing very well because so many people want their chips right now. So we can think of it as like AI companies, chip companies, and then the middlemen compute companies. What the AI companies want is to be able to keep existing. Right now, OpenAI, worth $500 billion, has $12 billion of revenue. That's not profit. That's the amount of money they made total. Their profit is deeply in the negative. And NVIDIA has extremely high profit. They make way more money than they spend because people really want their chips right now, and so they'll pay way extra for them, and they're the best chips. They're the best chips. Crunch, 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 crunch. There's a huge amount of demand for those chips. The prices are way up. It's very good for NVIDIA. That's why they are the largest company in the world and are one company that is worth more.
They're the best chips. The best, huge, the greatest.
than
That
the
was
entire
totally a
pharmaceutical industry
Donald
combined. But
Trump
even that,
moment.
even with their absolutely bonkers margin that they have right now, their price to earnings ratio is extremely high. So the value of all NVIDIA stock combined is much higher than you would see with a normal company, which indicates the belief among investors that the prices of those chips will keep going up and the number of chips produced will keep going up. So NVIDIA desperately wants to keep the prices of their chips the same or higher. They want the demand to increase faster than supply, but they also want to increase supply dramatically so that they can sell more things. So like more sales and more profit equals more earnings. People who are sort of on the AI isn't a bubble train right now, what they're saying is, well, if it's a bubble, why are the prices of NVIDIA chips continuing to increase? There's a huge amount of demand there. People are buying them. That can't be entirely irrational. So keep that in mind. The demand for NVIDIA chips far outstrips the supply of NVIDIA chips. And the idea is that will continue to be the case
Yeah,
even as supply increases. But first, quickly,
but the thing about the demand thing is like his point there is like, which I'm guessing that he's gonna say something like this in here, but like just because there is demand, it doesn't mean that that demand is like real substantial business demand, right? It could be there's a lot of people who are trying to spin up GPUs to solve bad business problems, right? Like there could be capital expenditure that's happening that's not capital expenditure that's actually going to be a meaningful return, which isn't, I mean, it's good for Nvidia, but it's not good for the larger ecosystem, right? If you have businesses who are spending tons and tons of money investing into infrastructure to support business that never actually comes their way, like that's
the sponsor of
kind
this
of
video, Ground
problematic.
News. I don't know about you, but one thing I notice is that when I start to like have a preference for a kind of content, Ground News, I suffered with about
We're
this.
gonna skip through the ad. I mean, I respect the ad, but we're gonna skip through it. Oh no. Now
Data. They are spending hundreds of billions of dollars on these chips. And OpenAI, I don't want to say that like they couldn't do more than they're doing right now, but they're not like brand new. They've been selling their services for a while. Now, could they increase the price of their services?
hello,
Yes. Do they seem to think that that would be the thing that does it for them? No. Like they're
Mohammed.
creating feeds inside of
How
their
are you?
systems. Now they've got a feed inside of ChatGPT where like when you open it, it's like, hey, just like read some stuff. Just read some stuff that I prepared for you. Instead of asking me questions, here's stuff that we think, based on what you've talked to me about before, you might be interested in. And the play there is obvious to me, which is they've said that they don't want to put ads inside of the experience of you just asking it questions, but they haven't said that they won't put ads inside of the stuff that it just provides.
Oh, there ads are 100% coming to OpenAI. Um, like I don't even know what other business, like what other thing could you sell or how what other monetization strategy could you implement that would actually be effective at scale to support OpenAI's burn rate than advertising, right? Like subscriptions aren't going to support that type of a burn rate. Wayfaring to know all my homies hate AI.
To you. And if it's just providing stuff for me, maybe sometimes it will provide stuff for me that paid to be there. Also, maybe like
Well, we're not necessarily, at least I think my chat's reflective of this. We're not necessarily AI haters over here, but we're like AI middle of the road people. We don't think AI is gonna like destroy everything. We also don't think AI is gonna take all of our jobs, right? It's like it's not all good, it's not all bad, it's something in the middle.
Sora's slop talk thing is also a thing where they could put ads, though. I can't imagine that anyone thinks that there will actually be a lot of.
Hey Lamp, I see your video, buddy. I'm not gonna watch everyone's recommended YouTube video. All right. So thanks for sharing, but I'm just watching this one because I respect Hank Green's opinion and I wanna hear. And the AI bubble is something I'm interested in.
People who spend time on slop talk. But maybe, you never know, irrational exuberance and all that. And thus, you have the other side of the argument. The people who say that this is probably a bubble, they're saying, okay, well, there's demand for OpenAI services. People
It's
use
rude
them,
that
they're
a
using them more
streamer
and
of
more
your
as time goes
caliber
on. But you can't say
doesn't
that at the moment the demand
get
is
given
outstripping the.
free YouTube Premium. Well, but you got to imagine I'm actually a super small creator, right? And there's lots of super small creators. So if they were to give YouTube Premium away, they'd probably be
Supply. There's
bleeding
plenty
some
of supply to meet the
cash,
demand. And right now, OpenAI, according, I think, to them, they lose money every single time you use one of their products. Like the amount that it costs to train and use the models is more than the amount that they are charging, even for their top $200 a month tier. In that case,
Sir, there's a high chance of copyright strike. Oh, you think? Huh. Well, if we get copyright strike,
it's possible that they could charge 10 times more to their enterprise clients
we'll have to pay the price. But I appreciate you looking out, Raul.
and to their consumer clients, and all those people would keep paying, and they would be a profitable company. But would that actually work? Like, would the $200 a month people pay $2,000 a month? But even more than that, is it true that the demand for NVIDIA's chips is increasing? Or is NVIDIA creating that demand? And likewise, is it true that the demand for OpenAI's services is increasing, or are they increasing that demand? So let's start with OpenAI. There's obviously a lot of arrows coming in and out of this. We're going to start with the ones that have green arrows. There's a healthcare company, Harvey AI, and AnySphere. These are companies that pay money to OpenAI, but that OpenAI's venture arm has also invested in. So they're investing in these companies, and then the companies buy services from OpenAI. That's a bit of a loop. Now, they're not
See,
investing
that
like
kind
the
of
exact same amount
circular
of money.
deal
Probably
flow
they're
is
investing less than
crazy.
the companies are paying, but
It's
that is an
like
example
crazy
of a
that doesn't feel like it should be legal, you know? I mean, I don't know if there's anything nefarious behind it, but it seems like that kind of circular nature of capital shouldn't be a thing.
a circular system here. We also see these green arrows, which is venture capital, pointing out from NVIDIA to Mistral to Figure AI and to xAI. And all of those people take that venture capital investment and then they buy NVIDIA chips. So if you're in the anti-bubble case, then you do have to ask, well, why does NVIDIA have to invest in these companies in order for them to buy their chips? It's not like a quid pro quo here, but like, why can't the companies just get investment from elsewhere, outside of NVIDIA, to do those investments? It's a little weird, and I think that it makes sense that people are worried about it. Now, none of these arrows have dollar values on them, which is a little bit frustrating for me, except for the most important one, the one that sort of created this whole conversation about round tripping, which is this one. NVIDIA has agreed to invest up to $100 billion in OpenAI, and that investment comes along with the purchase of chips. So to unlock more and more of that investment, they have to buy more and more of the chips. That's basically paying OpenAI to buy NVIDIA chips. Now, it's not like the exact price of the chips. It's less than the price of the chips. So basically about a quarter of the money.
That reminds me, are any of you guys The Office fans? The Office, Andy purchasing paper. I'm always on the internet just clicking around on stream live. I mean, who knows what could be in this clip, right? Anywho, there's an episode of there's an episode of The Office where Andy is trying to hit a sales number, and he has been buying their Dunder Mifflin's paper and putting it in his garage to help drive the sales number. And what he just described about NVIDIA investing into OpenAI, so OpenAI will buy more of their chips. So the more chips OpenAI buys, the more investment they unlock from NVIDIA. Feels very much like an Andy buying Dunder Mifflin paper scenario. AWS is currently down. Is it really? AWS outage? Oh wow. Widespread AWS outage takes down internet. Holy shit. That's not a good headline you want for your company, huh? A major Amazon Web Service outage has caused widespread internet disruptions. Oh man, you can't use your Snapchat or your Roblox. You might as well just like shut it down. Like Fortnite, Duolingo, Ring. Wow. Is it just impacting the UK or is it hitting other people? Because I have not. I'll be honest, I haven't noticed anything myself. Crazy. Yeah, it's crazy how consolidated the internet infrastructure is these days.
That the chips
Bro,
cost is
make
getting
this video
discounted off the price
private
of the chips,
after the
and in exchange, and
live-in
I am
so that you
simplifying here, but
don't
in
get a
exchange for that
copyright
25%
strike.
discount, NVIDIA is getting
Well,
ownership shares in OpenAI.
I
At
mean,
the
I'm
same
not
time,
honestly trying to hide a copyright strike. I mean, if I get copyright strike just because I'm reacting or listening to Hank Green talk,
that is happening with this money
I'm
going to
okay with
OpenAI.
that. I mean,
OpenAI signs a $300 billion deal with the middleman, Oracle, who's going to build the data centers and run the data centers. $300 billion on
hey Kurt,
revenue
thanks
of
for the
$12 billion for
subscription,
a company
man.
that is not brand new, has been around, and that everybody knows about, and that lots of people use, and that lots of people have found a hard time figuring out how it integrates well into businesses in a way that is worth spending a lot of money. $12 billion. They have these huge contracts with lots of companies, but still $12 billion is the amount of revenue they have. They're spending $300 billion on a service contract. That's this darker blue line, a service contract with Oracle. So NVIDIA invests in OpenAI. OpenAI signs a service contract with Oracle. Oracle, in order to build this data center, has to spend tens of billions of dollars on chips. All these pink arrows going into NVIDIA, these are all these companies buying chips directly from NVIDIA. So they're all paying money into NVIDIA, which is why they're the ones who are winning the most in this. And also there's this one arrow pointing out of NVIDIA to CoreWeave, which is a service agreement saying NVIDIA will lease its own chips that are being sold to CoreWeave. So CoreWeave's buying chips from NVIDIA, and then NVIDIA has said, we promise that we're going to pay you to use those chips once they're in your data center. And not only that, they have promised that if CoreWeave, this data center company, if they don't get enough contracts to use all of the chips, NVIDIA will just take all of that excess processing power and pay for it. So they're guaranteeing the value of the chips to CoreWeave. Why would they be doing this if the demand for the chips is so high and the profit margin on the chips is so high? So the anti-bubble argument that I've heard from analysts who are much smarter than me and know more about this is that the price keeps going up for these NVIDIA chips, and so they're like the demand is there. But the chip
Also, I love
isn't the product.
Hank's
The AI service
sweatshirt,
to consumers
his
is the
YouTube
product. And right now, that is an
sweatshirt.
order of magnitude
That's a very
under
cool
the amount of money that is being spent just on hardware, not even including staff time and the power and the water and the buildings and all of that stuff. The amount of money being made by AI companies is an order of magnitude lower than just the money that is going to NVIDIA every year. And by doing deals that basically give companies money to buy NVIDIA's chips, they are selling their chips at an effective discount. And yet, at every one of these steps of the process, as this money flows around, these companies get more highly valued. When Oracle signed this $300 billion a year deal with OpenAI, their stock price shot up. When NVIDIA does venture investment in XAI, which then turns around and buys NVIDIA's chips, that is offering the chips at a discount. So once you parse this fairly information dense, though there could be more information on it, and that would be.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing with the AI bubble for me that's kind of difficult to suss through is I imagine this is the same experience people had with the internet, is that obviously there's real tangible value in technology here. And so you don't want to miss out on the substance, but at the same time you don't want to get whacked by the vaporware, right? And so, but discerning between those two things is very difficult at any given moment. Well, Hank Green is very smart. So if you're interested in watching that video to completion, I'll just share it again. Uh, Here's the video. I'm gonna catch up on some chat real quick, and then we'll try to actually write some code. Thanks for sharing that, Suhas. Oh, and we need to turn the music back on. Muhammad asked, did the TrueNAS boot up yesterday? So the TrueNAS did boot. Actually, I'm running some long tests right now before I create my pool, but it did boot. So you can see I've got a login set up, and let's see if those tests finished. So I have a couple long running jobs. Apparently, these long tests that I guess they basically go through and check your hard drive for integrity issues. They can take like up to an hour per terabyte. So I have two 20 terabyte drives in here. So I'm guessing this will take like roughly 24 hours for these jobs to finish. But hopefully those will finish successfully, and then I'll finish configuring everything. I need to like create the storage pool. I need to set up some backup tasks. Need to set up an actual file share. I want to set up Tailscale on it so that I can connect it to my VPN network, all that stuff. But it did boot, so that was exciting yesterday. I think I said the word huzzah at some point. Let's see. How are you building the agent? What exactly is the agent capable of? Why build an agent when models like Sonnet 4.5 makes its own agents? Okay, Melty, I'm going to just take your questions one at a time. How are you building the agent? So we are using a framework called Agent Framework from Microsoft. And so just to kind of set the stage for you, Melty, because I'm not sure where you are in your journey in the AI land, but when it comes to agents, this is basically what an agent is. Like people can tell you all kinds of different stuff, but this is conceptually what an agent is. An agent is just the ability to talk to an LLM, and then you're organizing an agent with a prompt and some tools and functions that it can call. And the agent doesn't actually run the tools and functions, it just provides input to those things. So conceptually, this is what an agent is. So you can imagine you can express an agent in a lot of different ways, right? You just need to be able to make a REST API call, handle the response, parse inputs to functions, call those functions in your code, return the results to the LLM, and proceed in a loop. Or not. It could be a one-shot thing too. So we are, instead of having to hand roll all of this ourselves, we're using a framework called Agent Framework. excuse me, which is a framework that Microsoft released. So if you're familiar with things like LangChain, this is kind of in that same vein. Microsoft used to have they still do have two major AI libraries. They had AutoGen, which was very popular and prevalent in the Python world, and then they had Semantic Kernel, which supported Python and .NET. And they've tried to basically bring those together into this library, and or the learnings from those other two libraries into this library. So that's what we're using to build it. As far as LLM, we're using the Gemini API, but that's just because I like the Gemini API and they have a generous free tier. It could be whatever LLM you want to use. What exactly is the agent capable of? So at the end of the day, it's really just going to be an app that allows me to quickly go from I have an idea to write for a blog post, right? I have an idea to a draft blog post, right? So like, here's 3 sentences or here's 4 sentences. I'm not really sure what this looks like completely expanded out to like a 4 or 5 paragraph blog post, but I'm going to use the power of generative AI to sort of flush that out, take a first stab at it, and then I'm going to edit that and like whittle it down, change it, right, to where it sounds like me or is exactly what I want to communicate. It's just meant to help save me some time. What was your other question? Why build an agent when models like Sonnet 4.5 makes its own agents? I'm not sure what you're meaning by that. So, Sonnet 4.5 makes its own agents? What does that even mean? The Claude, is this what you're talking about? You're talking about the agent SDK? Because this is very similar. This is a very similar thing to what the agent framework is, right? This is Anthropic providing you with some. They've basically saying, hey, instead of you implementing this all yourself, you can solve the problem. We're going to give you some code that's going to help you solve this out of the box. But you still have to write the code, Melty. Like, this isn't, you don't just talk to Sonnet 4.5 and it generates agents. Like, you're gonna have to install the SDK. Like, so yeah, I'm not certain what that means. When using Sonnet 4.5 recently, I noticed it make little agents while trying to do a task, basically. Yeah, I've not had that experience where it just makes its own agents. I mean, maybe it uses tool calls or function calls. Sonnet 4.5, maybe it uses some server side, like, because Anthropic provides some server hosted tools now where like they'll search the web for you, right? Or they'll do some arbitrary code execution. But I think if you want to build an agent, you still have to implement the agent yourself. Yeah, just through basic VS Code use, I see it do that, so it's just over my head. Sorry for the confusion. Oh, yeah. So what VS Code is doing is, what Copilot is doing is, Copilot is an agent, right? So Copilot is 100% an agentic tool. But it still boils down to conceptually this idea, right? You pick an LLM for it to talk to, but the Copilot team has done all the work to make it an effective agent, right? They've written prompts and they've defined tools and functions that Copilot can use to interact with your code and interact with your editor, right? So it can read files, it can look at directories, it can edit files, create new files. Like, those are all tools that the VS Code team has given it and said, hey, if you want to do these things, you can. You just need to tell us, like, what's the file you want to edit, what's the file you want to read, right? And then the LLM says, okay, I'm going to use that tool. But the management of the agentic workflow, that's, somebody had to engineer that system. And you can use different models, but somebody had to put the prompts in place and the tools in place. I use the Claude extension, not Copilot. It's the same. It's the same. It's the same idea. Whether you're using the Gemini CLI or the Claude Code or Copilot CLI, or like it's the same. It's all of this is the same idea. It's not magic. Yeah, it's not magic. It's not just like Claude or Sonnet is just not like under the hood being like, oh yes, now I can interact with your computer. Like somebody, some engineer, some developers providing that deterministic code, and then you're using the orchestration power of the LLMs to figure out what things it wants to actually do. So what we're doing is, instead of our agent being very broad and being a very like broad assistant that can do a lot of different things, and instead of like our agent being a code specific agent, we're building an agent that facilitates like a very specific workflow for a very specific use case. LOI didn't think it was magic. Yeah. Okay. Well, fair enough. But like your questions kind of tried to hint at the fact that like it's a waste of time, or like there's not a good reason to work on this kind of stuff yourself, because the model now Sonnet can do it, all of it for you, because it can't. I mean, Sonnet can't do everything for you. Okay, what else did I miss? Self-hosting is better. Yeah, I prefer like. Although the thing is, the main reason I self-host things is because I'm scared of a very expensive bill. Like you hear those horror stories of people getting bills from like Vercel for thousands of dollars. That scares me. So I try not to host anything on a cloud service. I'm in the UAE. Lots of services are affected. I couldn't use my bank app. Oh man, that sucks. That would be very frustrating. Super, super frustrating. Oh, well, yeah, fair enough, fair enough. I apologize that I took it as I apologize that I took it that way, Malty. But yeah, that's if you're to answer your question of curiosity. I'm really building this for two reasons. I'm building this because I want to learn that agent framework, but also because I think it could be a helpful tool for myself. So that's really because like somebody brought this up 2 weeks ago. They were like, "Well, can't you just open Gemini and ask Gemini to do all this stuff for you?" 100% you could do that. Like 100% you could put all these prompts into Gemini and just have a conversation with it and accomplish the same thing. However, then you have to remember to write the prompts every time, copy and paste it every time. The idea here is like you're sort of automating all that. Like you're just like, I'm going to put these prompts over here. I'm going to tell this agent to do these things. I'm going to allow this agent to do the research. And you're just kind of trying to take it and turn it into more of a deterministic automated workflow that's just leveraging the generative power of the LLM. And then on the side, I also get to learn about this framework that Microsoft produced, because I think the framework could be pretty helpful if you're a .NET developer. Unfortunately, us .NET developers don't have a lot of great AI libraries to work with. Oh, no worries, Melty. You're good, man. You're good. I appreciate you asking questions. I'm always open to being questioned on what I'm doing. I mean, 9 times out of 10, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm just making it up as I go. Mind Dingus. Dongus. What a username. Thanks for the subscription, man. Okay, let's see if we can't get the... I would really like to get all of the connected. I don't know why it keeps doing that. It always reconnects, but... Maybe my ISP is getting annoyed by how much bandwidth I'm using all the time. All right, so we reached 10 likes this time. Hey, look at us. We're doing big things over here. All right, so we're gonna have a prompt.cs file. We're also gonna need an editor, agents. I'm just kind of sticking to this nomenclature. We're gonna need a editor, agent, response, and I guess we're gonna need some sort of aggregate to represent what edits need to be made. But I don't feel like a brief is brief. I guess I could just do editor brief. Or maybe we call it like I don't even know what to call it. Let's come back here. Let's ask Gemini. If a writer sends a draft to an editor and the editor provides feedback, what would you call this? What would you call this feedback? I mean, I guess feedback. I mean, I guess I could just call it feedback. I mean, it's kind of interesting because I'm basically trying to model a process that happens every day in the real world, right? Which is like, writer has an idea, writer drafts a rough draft, writer passes it to an editor, editor passes back changes, you know. Let's see, this feedback will be centered on grammar and spelling. I guess grammar, structure, and spelling. Okay, I think I'll just call it editor feedback, I guess. I'll go with it. Okay, so we have our editor here, and we need to recreate our editor agent. So we're basically going to take our writer agent. We can just copy that, stick that here. It's going to have a different namespace. Casper.console.edit. This is going to be our editor agent. I think that looks pretty good. And then we'll have to change this to be, instead of writer, this will be editor. We're just kind of following, I've kind of settled on this architecture where it's like I have an agent, or I have an executor, which is kind of like, that's like the node in my workflow where stuff happens. And then each executor has an agent, and then each agent has a prompt and a response format. Like that's the kind of architecture I've kind of settled on. $10 donation. Steven's doing a shirtless stream. So, first of all, Sogo, thank you for for the donation, for the super chat. That's very kind. Way too kind. It's not necessary. But I appreciate that. Let's see. How does the file also I should say no shirtless streams. That's a completely different kind of content. Melty asked a good question. He said, how does the file structure of the agent work? Is there a set standard of specific files that it knows to read from, or is there more of a free flow to it than that? Yeah, so this is very much like the agent is explicit what you instruct it to be. So there's no in this world, there's no like specific files that you're implementing. Like you know how like Copilot has settled on this idea of instructions.md, right? There, so some of these coding agents, I think Cursor has a similar idea. I think they call theirs Cursor rules. So some of these agentic coding systems have almost they've basically settled on a configuration format is what they've settled on, right? So like you put these files in these directories with instructions, and that configures how your agent behaves essentially. That's not at all what's happening here. We're actually implementing our own agent. So we're deciding what the agent system prompt is. We're deciding what tools each agent has access to, and we're implementing all that in code, right? So there's nothing here that was given to us out of the box. We're dealing with just the raw capabilities of an LLM, and then we're constraining that or adding things to that from there. So we're actually implementing it in our own code. It's a little different of an idea of what like Claude Code is or Copilot is, right? Those are the finished products. That's a completely finished agent. But underneath Copilot, underneath all these agents, there's a lot of engineering that's happening, right? So there's like the base LLM capability, but then between base LLM capability and like your Copilot experience, there's a shit ton of engineering that's happened to make that a good experience. Ducky Dev, AWS was just down. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, actually, Ducky Dev. Somebody was saying they couldn't get into their banking application because of AWS being down. They were in the UAE, which that's really shitty. Dina, hi sir. Which vector DB is good for on-premise with persistent on disk? So I've only used one vector DB that falls in that category, and it is called Chroma DB. This is what I've used both locally. This is what I pretty much use if I need a vector DB. This is the one I use locally to do stuff with. It's open source. You can run it locally. So let me link it for you. They got decent docs, decent SDKs. So I have never used it, but I've also heard good things about Pinecone. But I don't know if Pinecone works on-prem. I know they have a cloud service because I have a friend at work or colleague at work who used Pinecone for some POC work we did over the last year or so, and he said lots of good things about it. But I personally, Chroma was the first thing I found that I could use for a local vector store, and I've just stuck with it. And they've done a really good job iterating on it and making it better since it was originally released. And it's very simplistic, as you can see. It's like it doesn't have a big API surface, you know. It does basically a few things really well. And I think there a lot of the like LangChain has an integration for it, obviously, as they call there, but I'm pretty sure Semantic Kernel, if you're in the .NET world, has an integration for it. So this would be who I would recommend. Granted, it's not like I've used everyone on the market, so just fair, you know, full disclosure, right? Completely different type of content, yeah. Completely different type of content. You could just modify system prompt or main prompt. What? I don't know the context of that comment, but yes, modifying prompts is how you get LLMs to do different things. Melty, step 1, read a file. Step 2, read file B. While file B result equals in, repeat step 2, etc., etc. I mean, that's very, you know, like, you can boil it down to that simple of an implementation 100%. But my agent isn't, so basic, maybe if I run the app, or no, actually, let me let me go to that diagram because I think that might help wrap your mind around this a little bit. So here's kind of a conceptual diagram of the workflow that this thing's going to follow. So we're going to have a few different agents. Again, remember, an agent is just a way to conceptually organize prompts and tools with an LLM, right? This conceptually is it's like an organizational architectural thing. And so we're sort of going to have several different agents that talk to each other and pass outputs to one another, right? So the first thing that we'll do is we'll have, it's not on this diagram because this diagram's now out of date, but we'll have extracts from the user what they actually want to write about, like what's their idea. Then we'll have a researcher who's essentially acts as like a way to help ground the responses of the writer, what the writer writes. And so we'll take both those things. We'll take the thing the user wants to write about and the research for that topic, and we'll give that to another agent that's responsibility is going to be to write a blog post. Then we'll take the blog post, we'll pass it to another agent whose identity is an editor, right? Again, these agents, we're still talking to the same LLM. The only difference from agent to agent is the system prompt, the instructions that agent has been given, the identity, the rules of the road, and then maybe the ability to call a tool or not. And then once it passes through this editor and critic loop, there's no more revisions needed, it'll finally write the post to disk. Ludus, thanks for the subscription, man. Yusuf, thanks for the subscription. I appreciate you. But at the end of the day, this is very deterministic, right? I've wired all this up to work this way. And I'm using the agent framework to do it. So the agent framework has a very specific API for building these types of workflows. So you can kind of see here, this is what building a workflow looks like. So you basically tell this workflow in code that first you get input from the user, then you send that input to the interviewer. Now we can have conditional edges that basically say, hey, if you need more input from the user, ask more questions. If you don't need more input, take your result and pass it to the research agent, and so on and so forth. So this is where the power of this framework becomes really clear, because if you had to implement this all yourself, it would look kind of like what you described, only instead of reading files, it would be like ask question until question answered is true, right? Like you'd have a while loop that just sits there. And so you could implement this all the same, but you would have to write a lot of code to accomplish this. And so the agent framework just gives you a bunch of primitives, right? Helpful primitives to make the architecture and the building of these things much easier, right? So you're not concerned as much with already solved problems. Which is the benefit of, that's the benefit of using any framework, right? That's why we don't invent our own HTTP server to serve a website. That's why we don't, that's why we use Ruby on Rails. That's why we use ASP.NET, all those things, Hano. That's why we use all those things, because they've already solved the problem, and we don't need to implement that code again and again and again. My project is either very big or very unoptimized because playing it has many lag spikes. Looks good though. Well, who gives a shit? If it plays at 20 frames per second but looks crisp as fuck, like... Melty, fuck yeah, he typed my name. When do you sleep at night to wake up at 4? So usually it depends, but most of the time I'm in bed by 10 lately, it just depends. Like what happens to me a lot in the evenings is I nerd stipe myself. So like I'll have no intention of staying up late, but then I'll have an idea, or like something will cross my face or catch my attention, and then I'm like, oh, something shiny, and then all of a sudden I look up and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. Which is good because actually some of the best learning that I've ever done and some of the most interesting problems that I've ended up coming up with solutions from oftentimes come out of those things, right? But then it's not good when you need to wake up in like 2 hours or 3 hours. So if I do plan on getting up early, I try to get to bed before midnight. Before midnight. I've always been a pretty minimal sleeper though. I've always been sort of both a night owl and a morning bird. My wife says this is not good, but she's always on my ass about sleeping more and sleeping better. But sleep to me is just not interesting. It's just not interesting at all. Hey, Steven, are you a dog or cat person? So I don't mind cats, but I'm allergic to them. So we had cats growing up, like my whole childhood. We had cats. I mean, I think I was allergic the whole time. I think the fact that I was around them, I had better immunity, I guess, if that's even the right word. Tolerance, I guess, is a better word. And then when I moved out of my mom's house, and I wasn't living around cats all the time, now I've become super sensitive to them. And so I can't. So while I don't mind cats, we can't have them. So we're mostly a dog family. But by the way, I'm Jerry Flashback. Ah, okay. All these people with different accounts. I can't keep track of all you guys. Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Saba, what are you build? So we are building basically. I mean, you can call it an AI agent. That's how people refer to these things. But it's basically like an LLM powered app that's going to help me take an idea to a draft blog post, right? So, man, I'd love to opine on the AI bubble. Here's kind of my basic idea here. Here's some basic points that I'd like to touch on. Go, right? And so then the idea is I'd end up with a blog post that's maybe like 4 or 5 paragraphs that sort of gets me started. And then I can look at that blog post and be like, no, I don't like that. That doesn't sound right. That looks wrong. I want to add some more here. So that basically that creative process of going from, because the hardest thing to do when you sit down to write something or really sit down to build anything, create anything, is going from nothing to something. It's the biggest hurdle, right? It's like it requires the most level of effort and energy. And so what I'm hoping is that I can produce more content for my blog if I can lower that barrier to entry, right? If I can go from 0 to 1 in 5 minutes and then 1 to like a final piece in an hour or so, that would be ideal. I mean, I probably won't use this all the time. Like, I probably won't use this like if I'm doing like a tutorial, or writing up like a technical, like this is what I did thing. I'll probably just write it myself. But for things that are more open-ended or opinion-based or just like exploring a particular thought, I can see this being useful. Always listen to your wife. If she says sleep, you sleep. You are a smart man. How is your app different from ChatGPT? So it's really not. Like, I was saying this to Melty earlier. Melty was asking about this, and I was saying this earlier, like, could you open Gemini? Could you open Gemini, start a new conversation, and be like, hey, I want to write a blog post, 100%. You could even create like a custom gem, right, in Gemini, or a custom GPT if you're a ChatGPT user. So there's nothing that I'm doing in my app that necessarily makes it better than having a conversation in the chat interface, other than for my for me, right, it's built specifically kind of n equals 1 type of user, it's going to automate a lot of that, right? So I don't have to type those same prompts in or paste those same prompts in every time. I don't have to tell it to generate the thing in a particular format. Like I don't have to do all that. It's just going to be a CLI tool where I fire it up, I let it interview me a little bit, and then it's off to the races. So that's really the value in it, is just to help me save a little bit of time. It's not something that like I'm trying to sell to other people. It's not like I'm trying to disrupt, you know, um, existing applications, right? And then I will say the kind of the head fake here, right? Like the secondary gain that I'm getting from building this is it's also allowing me to learn this new framework, right? So if you already know how to use LangChain, for example, right, that's valuable. Having that skill set of being able to say, I know how to build things with LangChain. Is I want to be able to say that same kind of thing, but I want to talk about the agent framework, right? So I want to be able to say, yeah, I know how to use that, or I know how I would implement that. I understand the API, I understand the abstractions or how you would go about accomplishing that in that specific framework. I just want to have that knowledge. So the best way I feel like to learn things is often, obviously, you want to read the docs, you want to follow their getting started, but in my opinion, the best way to own the knowledge is to actually build some sort of project with it. So I build a lot of projects that are really just for me, and they scratch an itch that I have. And most of the time, I'm better for it on the other side, you know. Okay, we need to finish implementing this stuff. So we're gonna have namespace, Casper. Man, you guys have been a talkative group this morning. I like it. I'm also impressed with my ability to be this talkative at 5:30 in the morning. Let's see, internal sealed class. No, where am I? I'm in the internal sealed record. And this is going to be editor agent response. And I guess, yeah, we could do that. Is approved. I don't know if is approved is the right word. Maybe needs edits or has edits. Has edits. And I think I actually want it to respond with like a list of. Oh, I don't want that here. This is actually going to be editor feedback. This is just going to be an aggregate. So we're going to say editor editor feedback. Okay. So I mean, you may say, well, why have all these aggregates? Like, why have, and the benefit a lot of times I find when you return an aggregate, like, so instead of turning like individual properties, you return a larger object that has individual properties, is in my opinion, it makes it a little bit more extensible, right? So you're not stuck with, like, instead of turning a list of strings that all contain feedback, let's return an aggregate that has a property, right? And so then that gives you the ability to sort of extend that thing over time. You don't always have to do that, but I find it oftentimes it's a benefit in the end. And types, types are free. You can make as many different types as you want. I love LAMP. So far, it's going good for the Forge script conversion. I haven't done any commands yet, but the bot runs. Wonderful. Let's go. That's half that's half the battle, man, to get something running and working. Congratulations, dude. It's funny. It's hard for people to appreciate. I have this experience often with my wives. I don't have multiple wives. my my wife, my one wife, I often have this experience where I've been working on something for a while, and to me, it's really cool, you know. So like, I want to show it off, so I'll go show her, like, here's the button I made, right? Or whatever, something like that. And to her, it's like a 5-second demo, and it's like, why is that cool? But for me, like, I understand all the problem solving, right, that went into whatever thing it is that I'm showing her. I have that experience quite a bit. Okay, so I think what I want here, string array of comments is pretty good. Comments, I like that. Comments. And then I'm actually going to add a property that I can use to check to say, I'm going to say public pool has, if has comments, or I guess has comments. Yeah, I'll just do that. Because basically I'm going to need actually, I don't think I need that property, because I think what I'm going to end up doing, I implemented a really simple results pattern in this application, which is nice because then I can do things like this, where I can say, if interview returns a question, go one place. But if interview returns a success, go somewhere else. So I think I'm just going to use types to do this. But first, we need more coffee. And I also need to use the restroom. So we are going to take a little break here. Be right back to get coffee. Oh gosh, dang it. BRB went to get coffee. I need to have like a shortcut or something for typing this. Make this a little bigger. Go down here. Bring that up. Pablo, what's up? Hey, how are you, man? Yeah, it's been. I know. Like, I saw your comment the other day on one of my shorts. Yeah, I moved the stream early in the morning, which I think we're in like a similar time zone. So I apologize for that, because I realize early mornings are not really the best time for people who are in my same time zone to watch. So, but I appreciate you being here this morning, man. That's this early. I hope you're doing well. Let's see, Melty. Showing people stuff that I do makes me feel dumb half the time if I solely base things on their reaction. So yeah, I understand what you're talking about. Yeah, it's because people only see the iceberg, right? Or they only see the tip of the iceberg. They don't see like all the work that went into that thing. It's actually made me super empathetic and much more cognizant as I move through the world to pay attention to stuff. Like, when I look at things, I try to look at objects and think, man, imagine all the people and all the time and energy that went into that object, right? Like, even just like something as simple as like a USB drive, right? Or, you know, like the cups I drink my espresso out of, right? I try to, like, to me, it's an object and I appreciate it and it does the job that it's designed to do, right? But I imagine there was people who, like, they labored over the right design and the manufacturing and the shipping and the logistics of it, right? So I try to be more empathetic and cognizant, more appreciative too of that. I never read docs. Well, that's one way to live your life, just full send. What is that that's showing all of those performance stats in Markdown? It's not. I don't think this is Markdown. That's rendering here. I think this is just different UI components. But the application that's doing it is called Bottom. So if you're familiar with like HTOP or Top from the like Linux Mac world, this guy I don't know this guy. Clement Sang. He built this application called Bottom. I think I found this through like a Google search. I think I searched like terminal process manager or something, and that's how I found it. But I've been using it now for 3 years, 4 years. It's like one of the first things I install on every machine is this application. So if you're interested, you should go check it out. That's the application. That's the link to their GitHub. But if you just go to GitHub and search Bottom, you'll find it. I should probably star the repo though. After 3 years of use, it's probably worth giving a star to. I don't know. Like, how do you guys use stars on GitHub? Because I use them like bookmarks, but it seems like a lot of people use it as like a proxy for like almost like likes. They're sort of like GitHub's approximation of likes, or is that's how people infer them to be? And I use them more as like bookmarking something, like when I want to go find it later. Maybe I'm just not in the know for the GitHub world. Can I help make the shortcut? You can. I don't even know how to make it. So if you want to give me instructions and drop them in Discord, that would be great. Pablo, this starts at like 6 a.m. for me. Oh, so you're 2 hours ahead. Okay, so it's not that early for you. Good deal. My level looks. Oh, you're talking about your game bookmarks, 100%. Yeah, that's how I use it too. Now they have lists. Yeah, lists. Yeah, lists too. I've seen that feature. More stars equals better project. Simple math. Yeah, it's an easy proxy that way. Alex, how you doing, bro? Hey, I'm good, Alex. How are you? Yes, RIP AWS this morning. Apparently a lot of people are having issues, which I'm sort of lucky because I don't even know if I should say that. But anyways, I guess I should say professionally I'm a little lucky because AWS outages don't have a huge impact on my workday, which is relatively a good thing. But I feel for everybody else who's probably going to be having a lot of support tickets while AWS figures their stuff out. Well, Pablo, I'm glad you woke up a little earlier today and that you're here. I'm gonna run upstairs and get some coffee really quick. I know I said it like 5 minutes ago, but I'll be right back. And I'll turn up the I'm gonna turn up the music just a little bit, so watch your ears. And I'll be right back down with some espresso, with some more caffeine. BRB. Apologies, that took longer than I expected it to. But I appreciate you guys, those of you who stayed and hung out. Which also, I never expect you guys to. You know, if I go on break like that and y'all need to dip or go do something else, you know, don't ever. I mean, I'm sure you guys don't, but if I haven't ever said that before, I don't expect you guys to stay. Oh, I got two pounds from Alex, or two. I don't actually know what that currency symbol is. Well, thanks for the super chat, man. That's super kind of you. You never have to do that. Okay, let's see. Where did I miss? Make a background daemon that waits till you press a key combo. Then when it's pressed, paste the text. My plan, basically. Ah, nice. Okay, good idea. Suhas, I'm back. Coffee again? Yes. Always coffee. Put a coffee machine on your desk. I really should. Down here in our basement, we have like it's almost like a bar top area. It's not a wet bar because there's not a sink, but I've thought about putting my espresso machine there. However, then you have this issue because there isn't a sink there, so there isn't water. So then you have this issue of like, you got to go upstairs to get water and then come back. I don't know. Maybe, I mean, that would be faster, be much quicker than having to go all the way upstairs to do it. Sogo said, Steven put on the invisible filter, if anyone's wondering. Dude, if I could have the cloak from Hogwarts, that'd be awesome. That and the Marauders map, that'd be pretty cool. I'm trying to catch up here. Steven rage quitted. So I will say, I have yet to like visibly rage at my code on stream yet. That has not happened. But this is a thing that does happen. Steven does rage quit coding sessions at times. I was actually worried about that when I was setting up the TrueNAS yesterday on stream, because typically whenever I do something like that, there's typically some moments of frustration. And luckily yesterday it was smooth sailing, so no one canceled me as I, lost my mind over some technical detail. Yeah, I went for coffee. I appreciate you, Pablo. That's very kind. I love Lamp. Sounds like you're making progress on your Discord bot. Way to go, dude. Killing it. Anyway, Steven, anything on the agenda today? Just work. Yeah. I'll probably stream for another hour or so till about 7 o'clock. Work on, write some more code, work on this till about 7. Go upstairs, see the kids, see the family. Almost all my weekdays look kind of the same. So like, see the kids, see the wife, get them off to school, start work at like 8 o'clock. At some point in the day, work out, lift some weights, go for a walk. Then the kids come home. I usually have like another hour or so of work when they get home. Then hang out with them for the evening. Tonight's Monday Night Football, so we'll probably watch that, have dinner, then go to bed. Steven, if you have any superpower, only one, what will you have? Flying, probably. I think flying would be really cool, although I'd like to know what the consequence is. So that's my tentative answer, pending what the consequence is for that superpower. Oh, nice. No school till Wednesday. Very cool. Yeah, my kids actually had a short week last week. They were only in school for two days last week because of parent-teacher conferences and professional development stuff. Oh, I just remembered something. I wanted to show you guys this tweet I saw last night or yesterday afternoon, and I wanted to share this with you all because I actually found this like really impactful. I know it's gonna sound silly when I show you guys this tweet. Okay, so I don't want to build it up too much, but I saw this tweet and it had impact on me from like an engineering perspective or like a developer programmer perspective, because oftentimes I feel like I'm not a very good developer. I oftentimes feel like the approaches I take to solving stuff are simplistic and they're kind of brute forcey and they're just not clever, you know? And I saw this tweet yesterday. I bookmarked it. And it's by a gentleman. His name is Sam Lambert is his name. And I'm pretty sure he used to work at GitHub. I'm not 100% sure what he does now. He's a CEO of PlanetScale. So you might be a customer of his if you have a Postgres instance out there on PlanetScale. But I think he used to work at GitHub, if I'm not mistaken. And he made this tweet yesterday. It got a lot of views, but I bookmarked it because so basically what he's saying is until approximately 2015, I know you guys can read, but it says GitHub Pages hosted over 2 million websites on 2 servers with a multi-million line Nginx conf edited and reloaded per deploy. This worked incredibly well, with GitHub.io ranking as the 140th most visited domain on the web at the time. I've had a GitHub Pages site over there since like 2021. So my use of GitHub Pages is after this, right? So he says until approximately 2015. But the point of that is like, think how simplistic of a solution that is, right? They're literally taking static files, they're putting them on 2 different servers, and then they're just editing an Nginx config file, right? Like, and they were able to support millions of websites. And I guess why I found this so impactful is because oftentimes when I look at a service like GitHub Pages, I'm sure now it must be a more complex service. I think he even links to an article down here that talks about it. But when I look at something like GitHub Pages, oftentimes I'm kind of overwhelmed because I'm like, how do they accomplish that? They must have some really smart, sophisticated, crazy, cool, custom implementation. You know what I mean? Like I build it up in my head, because if you ask me to do it, this is probably how I would have accomplished it, right? I would have done something like this. And oftentimes that leads me to think like, maybe I'm just not that smart. Maybe I'm not like, maybe I'm a bad programmer, a bad developer, bad engineer. But then I read stuff like this and I think, oh, well, wait, I mean, maybe I'm not. Maybe actually simple is often a perfectly fine, viable solution, right? Don't make things overly complex. Anyways, I wanted to share that. Maybe you guys found that impactful as well, but I bookmarked it. I'm probably going to go back and read that from time to time just to remind myself that the idea I have is probably not as bad as I perceive it to be. Let's see. Mice power will be the ability to manipulate reality to my will. Oh, that would be your superpower? That'd be pretty cool. That would be like Scarlet Witch, right? Scarlet Witch from the Marvel Universe. She can basically manipulate reality to whatever she wants it to be. Like stock market down and stock market app up. Oh yeah, that would be awesome. Well, if that's the line of thinking we're on, Suhas, this is what I would do. I would want the ability to time travel, and I'd like to go back to like whenever Bitcoin first came out, and I would like to buy several $1,000s worth of Bitcoin, or even like several $100 worth of Bitcoin. I think I've told you guys this before, but one of my careers that I had before I got into tech was I worked as a personal trainer. And I had a client that owned a company called My Med Lab. They basically did like online. You could basically go to their website and you could purchase lab tests. They would then send you a lab order, and they would then you could then take that to like Quest Diagnostics or some lab provider, and you could get the test. It was convenient. But that's the company he owned, and so he would come and he'd work out with me like 3 times a week, and I would train him. And I can't tell you, from like 2012 to like 2013, almost every time we met and did a workout, he would talk to me about Bitcoin. And it's hard to explain because he was kind of a little bit of an eccentric dude. Like he was into a lot of things, had a lot of ideas. But I just there's so many times I wish I could go back to like 2012 Steven and be like, hey, I know half of what he says sometimes comes across crazy, but you should really pay attention to this Bitcoin thing and go ahead and throw some cash at it. Because if I had listened to him, my life would just be completely different. I mean, I would just, what would that have been? Let's see, Bitcoin in 2012. I know this is the kind of content you guys want, is me drooling over my potential Bitcoin gains from my hypothetical time traveling superpower experience. Let's see, Bitcoin 2012 price. So it traded between $50 and $5 for a single Bitcoin, is what this says. Is that accurate? Yeah, so let's say I took $1,000 Bitcoin in 2012. I could have probably afforded $1,000. So this says 15 years ago, if you had invested $1,000 in Bitcoin in 2010, your investment would be worth about $1.62 billion. So let's just say if I had done it 2 years later, let's say it had gone up a lot. And I mean, even $1 million would have been life-changing money. I wish 2012 Steven hadn't been so arrogant. Really, really costly mistake there. Satoshi did that and he is missing. Good point. Yeah, Steven, exactly what I want. Greatest. Have you ever coded in Java? No, I've never coded in Java. I love coffee. Like, I absolutely love coffee. So it's kind of funny that I've never taken it upon myself to try Java, but maybe I will. So I will tell you guys, advent of code, we don't have very much longer before advent of code starts. So days until December 1st. We have 42 days until advent of code. I have not done a very good job of practicing Go, and I have been telling you guys that I'm going to use Go for advent of code this year. So in November, I'm basically going to only write Go. So for the whole month of November, I'm only going to do things in Go. So that going into December, when advent of code releases, I'm hoping that that's at least gives me at least some opportunity to be halfway decent at solving the challenges. Those streams will probably be long, and they will probably involve Steven getting frustrated multiple times. So we do need to. But anyways, why I say that is because maybe next year, 2026 advent of code, maybe we do Java. Ubuntu download page got hacked? Oh, wow. That's not good. Well, don't beat yourself up about it. There's nothing wrong with not following advice. Yeah. I mean, it's not even so much that he explicitly told me like, hey, you need to go buy Bitcoin. It was just that he was talking about it a lot, right? He was like, Bitcoin this, Bitcoin that, cryptocurrency. Like, it was in his language, right? It was in his like zeitgeist of the things he was paying attention to, and I wish I would have paid more attention to it, right? I wish I would have went and like, well, what is this Bitcoin? And I remember that to this day. When people bring stuff up, I always do a little bit of investigation into it, you know? I mean, in 2020, too many heard the advice and fell for the scam of NFTs. Yeah, the rug got pulled on the NFTs, didn't it? What was that? What's that NFT that got real famous? The monkey? No, the apes. Was it Bored Apes? Bored Apes NFT? Yeah, talk about a rug pull. Although, it's probably cyclical, right? It's probably cyclical. I wish 2019 actually tried to study. Now I have to relearn everything. Yeah, that's how it feels every year. You got to relearn stuff in school. But wait, people who massively invested at Bitcoin in 2010, are they millionaires slash billionaires now? Oh, for sure. They have to be. I mean, on paper, if like, well, if they were dumb if they haven't sold yet, right? Like if you put in $1,000 in 2010 and you now have $1 billion, but it's all still sitting in crypto, that's kind of dumb. Like you should definitely sell some of that and take some profits. um, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely people who cryptocurrency made millionaires and billionaires for sure. Pablo, let's freaking go. I'll do the same then. Yeah, so November is going to be the month of Go. And that way, heading into Advent of Code, my hope is I'll be somewhat proficient. I know there's a few things I need to focus on. Like I need to be able to set up a test project in Go. I need to be able to read a file from a disk in Go. I need to be able to walk a grid. A lot of Advent of Code problems involve like parsing a text file that's basically a grid. So I need to make sure I know how to do that. But yeah, that's the plan. The plan is to dedicate a whole month. Anytime I'm writing code in my free time, it needs to be in Go. Stephen, what do you think is the best use of language models? I think language translation is the best use. Language translation is pretty cool. It's kind of crazy that the models are actually pretty decent at it. Although my only experience with the language translation has been Spanish, because that's the only language like I can halfway kind of tell if what it translated it to is kind of right. I also have some family members who speak Spanish, so I can't really speak to other languages. But it's kind of cool that it supports multiple languages. I usually put language models use cases into two different camps. So like language models are great for like creativity, for generative things, right? So they call it generative AI. It's good for that type of work, right? So like write me this thing or come up with this idea or how would you implement this in code? So the idea being that in those scenarios, the goal is not necessarily accuracy or correctness, but ideation. I also think the other use case I see LLMs being really useful for is orchestration, right? Because LLMs can understand natural language. They understand it very well. And so I see LLMs very powerful as being able to orchestrate and compose things based on natural language input. I think that's why this whole idea of agents is kind of powerful, because it's almost like large language models can potentially offer a better Siri or a better Alexa, right? This is the same idea that has been floating around for a long time. This ambient computing, the ability to just talk and then have a system understand what you're asking for, what you're saying, and then it actually do that, right? So LLMs might be a better use case there, because they can still call deterministic code, right? They can still generate inputs to code that does very specific things, but hopefully they can have a better ability to better understand what it is you want to accomplish and how to compose things together to actually accomplish that. Because like we all know, like what does everybody use Siri and Alexa for? You use it for like setting timers, checking the weather, right? And we all know you have to speak to it in very specific ways for it to actually be useful. So those are the two use cases I put large language models into. Like, use it for orchestration as like a way to manage user interface through natural language, and then for creative use cases, ideation, that sort of thing. We need a code for Family Link on Home Assistant. I don't. That came out of left field for me, Danny. But why not? Let's see. Do we know somebody who sold it just a few years ago? I don't know anybody who sold Bitcoin a few years ago. Writing parsers is half the game always. Yeah, parsing the grids, like I almost always end up with a function that's like walk grid that accepts some sort of callback every time. Lots of fun with parsers on Rust. Very good libraries. Awesome. The trees, 2D matrix graphs are the three big structures you need to work with. Yeah, and so I need to make sure over the course of November I understand how I would do all those things in Go. Also, there's last year when I was writing it in C#, I found I used breadth first and depth first traversal quite a bit using a queue instead of recursion. So I need to make sure I understand kind of how I would implement some sort of queue in Go, which I'm guessing there's got to be a way to use like a slice or some data structure, and then I just push and pull right off of it, kind of like you do in JavaScript. I love LAMP. That's wonderful, man. I'm glad you found a solution. That's awesome. me no hablo español. Cache utility sets, other basic stuff helps a lot too. All right, cool. Well, I'm hoping, Pablo, you're hanging around the stream a lot in November, so you can help steer me in the right direction. Back in Steve Ann's day, he didn't have OBS, just disconnected. Wonderful. Alice and Eliza? I don't understand those references. Oh, Eliza was a natural language processing computer program developed from 1964 to 1967. Oh yeah, that one really predates me. I mean, I'm old for YouTube, but I'm not that old. It is kind of crazy that people have been working with these chatbot systems for that long. 1966, man. Imagine how different the world was in 1966. Okay, now my connection's improving. So weird. MR, thanks for the subscription, man. I appreciate you. This stream is pretty representative of how most of my streams go. If you're new here, there's always the intention to write code, but it ends up being a lot more coffee and a lot more chat than it does code. Good, bad, or otherwise. Where was? Okay, yeah. So I'm here. We have editor feedback now. We can do the prompt. So we're gonna do namespace. Then we'll do internal sealed partial class editor agent. You don't see people use the partial keyword much in C#, but it comes in handy in this case. So the reason I'm using it in this case is because I want to have a prompt file for each of my agents, but I don't want all this text like crowding up the agent class. So I'm just sticking it in kind of a wrapper. So we have a private static class. here, put that there, put that here, and then we can say public const string system instructions. And this actually should be a much simpler set of instructions. But as always, we're going to use Gemini as our prompt engineer. Yeah, kind of insane. I've used both of them, by the way. Eliza's pretty dumb, but Alice is pretty ahead of his time. That's really, I'm over here, I'm over here thinking of how I can make life easier to write blog posts. And then there was some guy in 1966 who was already envisioning natural language processing. My brain doesn't have these same clever thoughts. Like, what if, which is obviously why I'm streaming in my basement at 6:30 in the morning in Kansas. But I respect people that do have brains like that, All right, let's go hook up with our prompt engineer and get him to write me a prompt. See, this would be an interesting tweet. This is the kind of thing that I think this app could help with, right? So this post, right, generates some thoughts, and then my hope is I can take this post, I can take those thoughts, and feed it into Casper and help me flush out an actual blog that kind of explores what that post means to me. That's my hope. Osman, thanks for subscribing, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for being here. I hope you're having a good day. All right, Gemini. Also, Steven, I found out the perfect pulse is no fade in and longer fade than hold. Oh, is this for your game? I'm assuming, or the thing you're working on? You're probably older than Eliza. You're an unk to me. Yeah, it's kind of weird when you cross over that threshold of being an unk or an older person. I mean, that's it's weird for me now when I watch the NFL, or right now I've been watching a lot of baseball because of the off season. And I look at Shohei Ohtani, for example, right? And I think, man, that guy's awesome, blah blah blah. But then I realize oh wait, I'm pretty sure he's younger than me. Which is a really weird. Yeah, he's a year younger than I am. And I have that, and that experience gets more and more, right? Like Travis Hunter on the Jaguars is 10 years younger than I am, 11 years younger. It's a weird experience. So when did Eliza come out? Eliza came out when? Eliza? No, Alice. Alice came out in 1967. So that one's definitely, I'm only 32. That one's definitely older than I am. What about Alice? When did Alice NLP? Alice is in 1995. So I'm 2 years older than Alice. You're really, really old for YouTube. Kind of interesting to see someone as old as you here. Yeah. Well, it's funny because it is kind of weird. When I look at YouTube, I have that same thought. Is oh, I'm kind of old to am I supposed to be here? Do they allow 32 year? But then if you think about it, Casey Neistat. So Casey Neistat was kind of the king of YouTube from 2015 to I don't know, 2020 or later. He's the guy, right? And he was 34 when he started his vlog. He started his vlog on his 34th birthday. I know he had a YouTube career sort of before that, But so it's kind of weird because like yes, I look around YouTube and I think this is for the kids, but then I also look at some of the largest creators that have ever been on the platform, and a lot of them are not necessarily like Logan Pauls. Like they're not of that age, right? They're not like in their early teens or 20s. I think Marquez Brownlee and me are similar in age too. Marquez Brownlee. I think he may be a year younger than me. He's 31. He was born in December of '93, and I was born in April of '93. So we're like the same age. Stream quality got lower. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on with my connection. Right now it looks fine, but there for a while intermittently I was dropping frames, so I apologize for that. I have good internet, like I have good bandwidth. I have 3 gigabit um, internet, so I don't know. Maybe I'm consuming too much of the bandwidth. Hey, what's up, chat? Also, I apologize because right now, for whatever reason, OBS shows me you guys as your usernames. It used to show me your display names, so I don't know if that's a setting I need to fix or what. But if I call you by something other than your display name and you're used to me calling you by your display name, that's why. And you're welcome to correct me. I always talk to the agents like I'm asking a question. Do you guys, or not agents, the LLMs? I always talk to them like I'm asking a question, like can, as if it's gonna be like, no, I can't. Please write a prompt for system instructions to an AI agent whose responsibility is to provide pointed feedback to a writer about a blog post. The feedback should focus specifically. I want this agent to focus specifically on grammar, spelling, and structure, or I guess punctuation and structure. I do not want it to concern itself with tone, style, or voice. That's going to be something for a different agent. So I'm going to separate these two. I don't know if it makes sense to separate them, but I'm going to separate them. So I'm going to have one agent that's specifically focused on grammar, spelling, punctuation, like the technical bits of writing. And then I'm going to have another agent whose job is basically to look at the blog post and do somewhat of like I guess like a semantic analysis, and basically I'm gonna basically provide prompts that include either examples from my own blog posts, as like I'm gonna have basically a critic who's like, does this blog post sound like me, right? Does this align with how I would typically write a blog in my style or my tone or my voice? So I'm gonna separate the two. I don't know if that makes sense to do. It may be overkill. I could probably collapse it into one, but this is where I'm gonna start. That's great, but I think I want it in Markdown. I want the prompt in Markdown, and please put it into a code block that I can easily copy. Oh, I don't think I enabled Canvas. I think it just chose to put it in a canvas. Chatan, how are you, man? You remember me, Java guy? Yeah, I remember you, for sure. How are you doing? What the hell? It just put it in a canvas again. This is why LLMs are annoying. They're useful and annoying all at the same time. How many of you guys, I'm curious, for those of you here that use AI semi-regularly, how many of you actually keep like a long running conversation with the chat tools that you use or the LLM tools you use? Because I would say the vast majority of times I use these chat applications like Gemini or Claude, most of them are single shot. Like I ask it a single question and that's really it. And then if I want to iterate, I just open a new conversation. But I'm curious if other people do it differently. Please write the prompt in Markdown and put it in. Have you ever considered making a large or a language model from scratch yourself? I wanted to do this, but I don't have hardware that's good enough for training such thing. So yes, got it. Put it in a canvas again. Okay, screw you. I just want it in Markdown. Try again without canvas. Yeah, try again without the canvas. Don't put it in the canvas. I do, but it's trying to clarify my prompt more. Yeah, I use it multi-turn. I do multi-turn like that as well. Yeah, where it's like that was like it's almost like you're adding additional sentences to the first initial prompt. Yeah. That's kind of how I use it too in multi-turn conversations. The building a large. So I'm like stalled on that project. Actually, I haven't gone back to it. So I bought a book called "Building a Large Language Model from Scratch," and I think I'm on chapter 5. There's like 6 or 7 chapters in this book, and I think I'm on chapter 5. But this book kind of walks you through doing that. So you basically, it's all in Python, and you basically walk through implementing a transformer architecture, and then you train the model on a very small data set, like a single text file, just to kind of show you how that works. Then I haven't actually done this, but the next step where I'm at with the book is basically you take the architecture that you have and you load pre-existing weights into the model, right? So like ChatGPT 2 weights are open source. So you take those and you load them into the model. This book is very fascinating. There's a lot in here that's like over my head, right? Like I've read multiple chapters in this book like 2 or 3 times. But I do feel like it's made me not an expert by any means, and definitely not maybe even like a novice, but like I can probably have now more intelligent conversations with people about large language models. And if I was to actually have the opportunity to talk to an expert, I would sort of know what things to ask about, or I would have the right language to ask questions. So this is a really good book. I'd recommend it. Like I said, haven't finished it, but I would recommend it. I'm more than 75% of the way done with it. So I think I've read enough of it to recommend it. Okay. I know I didn't read any of this prompt, but I'm just gonna take Gemini's word for it. It's a good prompt. Famous last words. I don't know the AI. I don't know what this code does. The AI just I don't know what's in this prompt. The AI just gave it to me. Oh, I hear some family up. My wife's probably awake getting the kids breakfast or lunches made. CR Studios, thanks for hanging out. I love land. Great. I'm glad to hear you're making more progress, dude. Keep going. Building an LLM from scratch is indeed a messy and heavy hardware process, but more companies are just building decoders, only LLM, just like GPT models. Oh, interesting. I don't think I know what a decoder is. You need to learn the paper. Attention is all you need. So that book references that paper. I've not read it, but it does reference that paper. Because it talks about like self-attention and multi-head attention in that book. And it cites that paper quite a bit there. Yeah, an adversary. What EDL said about LLM that's kind of adversarial. Not adversarial in the sense that like it's like a villain. Adversarial in the sense that like it's more like it's more like a professor and you're in a PhD program and the professor, like you're trying to work out your thoughts about a topic, but the professor has opinions and it's correcting you and telling you like, maybe you should think about it this way and no, that's the wrong, like that type of, and again, somebody yesterday when I brought this up was like, well, you can just write a system prompt to make the LLM behave that way. Which is true, but it would be nice if that was just baked into the model, you know? It's all about VLMs, Vision Language Model. What? Vision Language? Is this like what the researchers are working on? This is like what Vision Language Models are multi-model generative AI models? Or is this what Gemini would be? Because Gemini has multi-model. I mean, it can understand video and images. This is the first time I've heard this term. VLMs. Is Gemini a VLM? Yes, Gemini is a vision a VML is a type of multi-model generative AI. It processes, understands different data types, text, images, videos. See, I'm so far behind. I barely understand how they produce LLMs, and now they now that's old. Yeah, I would assume if I actually wanted to be like on the cutting edge of machine learning, I'm in the wrong place. I'm working in the wrong field in the wrong place. I'm happy to be a part of the conversation, but I'm probably not going to be an expert by any means. All right, I think we've got this wired up decent. Oh no, we need to wire it up here. So now we need to, instead of having an iChat client, we need to have a private read-only agent, AI agent. This guy is going to be an AI agent. Yep, just like that. And then we need to actually use him. So we'll go back to the program here. Excuse me. And we're going to say services.add keyed singleton. Yep, just like that. Also, I tell you what, I kind of have gotten used to Copilot not being there, and when Copilot is there, it's kind of annoying to me. And then we'll do this. We'll say host.services.get required service. our editor. And we also need to go back to our editor and we need to tell it that the AI agent it should use is the editor agent. And I do that with an attribute. So you say from keyed service, and then you give it the name of the service, or the key of the service. Here. And the reason you have to do a keyed service, right, and this may be obvious to some of you who are in the .NET ecosystem, the reason you have to do that, or the reason I have to do that right now, is because I'm using a generic abstraction from the agent framework. This is just an abstract class, but I'm registering multiple implementations. So I have to let the DI container know like how should it resolve this. Otherwise, it's just going to resolve it, I think, to the last registered one instead of the specific one I want. And now we need to actually use our agent. TSLM are what I'm most interested about. Oh my gosh, you guys are throwing out all these acronyms this morning. TSLM, machine learning. Time series language model, is this what you're referring to, Pablo? Time series language model? VLMs have heavy encoders, that's why it generates images and videos like crazy. Unlike GPT, which is heavy decoder. Pablo, yep, okay. I don't know about these time series language models. Large language model. So what do these do, Pablo? I don't understand what I use this for. For reasoning over multivariate medical text and time series data. The future of AI delivered on time. Okay, these are multimodal foundational models with time series as a native modality next to text, enabling direct reasoning, explanation, and forecasting over temporal data in natural language. So is this like... That one is a bit... So is this like the ability to just basically have like real-time streamed in information, and this model can like ingest it and reason about it on an ongoing basis? Dark Hero, what are you developing? We're working on what we're talking about right now is what chat's talking about, but the thing I'm working on building is this application called Casper, and the whole point of it is basically to create like my own personal ghostwriter, but use an LLM, right? So like imagine you have a blog like I do, and you want to hire a ghostwriter to help you write content for that blog. And a ghostwriter, in reality, a ghostwriter doesn't write for you. They sort of take your ideas and distill them into good writing, right? That you then edit and further proofread and make sure it's in your voice and it expresses your ideas the way you'd want them to be expressed. So I don't have the money to hire a ghostwriter. So I'm trying to see if I can build something that approximates that. And then the other reason I'm building this is so that I can learn this framework that Microsoft released called Agent Framework. So this is kind of, if you're familiar with like LangChain, kind of a similar idea, not exactly identical, but in that similar vein is like, here's a framework that makes it much easier to integrate AI and do things with AI at the application level. So that's what we've been working on the last week or so. I guess we're on our second week of working on it. I'm not the most productive developer, okay? um, let's see what basically can predict outcomes of data over time and can translate from into text. Marin says, I just hear gibberish. Fair enough. Well, sometimes that's all I hear too. Interesting. So it can predict outcomes of data over time. So Pablo, I'm an idiot, so I'm still having a hard time. So like, what would be like is there like a good like example you could give? Azil, thanks for the subscription. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for being here. Is there like a concrete example you could give me that might help me wrap my brain around this? A universal TSLM will power proactive healthcare, adaptive robotics, resilient infrastructure, and new norms of human collaboration. So I guess what you're saying, I'm just gonna parrot this, and then you tell me what's wrong about my understanding. So what you're saying is these types of models can take in data, like say like it can take in information about like a patient, like blood pressure, weight, height, right? It can take in that kind of data that's measured multiple times over multiple periods of time, and then it can then infer from that data what will happen in the future. Oh, okay, yeah. So they not much. Basically, data analysis has existed for a while. Yes. So the ability to use data to predict outcomes, and they are now using that to inform an LLM. The LLM can make conclusions about it and reason about what's going on, right? You want time series data over time, and then so like a robot would theoretically be able to take in data and anticipate like the next thing that's going to happen in the environment or something like that. Interesting. I'm gonna have to pay attention to this. This is news to me. Um, I don't know if this is a good source, but maybe looks like there's a white paper here. This might be something to read, although this will probably take me a week and a half to read because every other sentence I'll have to stop and look up all the words. Let's see. So this is a 35-page research paper. I'm gonna be time series language models. This kind of stuff makes me just feel so behind, like I'm over here like, can I build my own ghostwriter with generative AI? And these folks are already on to the next thing. This is open TSLM. Open TSLM. Save. We'll see if I ever get around to reading that, but this sounds very interesting. That sounds more like what you'd want from AI. So I kind of understand, I think, why you're probably why you're more interested in that, because that seems like what you ideally want is like you do want generative output, right? You want it to predict the next thing, but you want it to be like grounded in like factual basis, and then you'd also like it to not just predict like text, right? You want it to predict like meaningful information that you can Dark here. Okay, you can use a VLM to describe a block that you have drawn, a kind of explaining the chapter or workflow of your book. Oh, that's kind of interesting. You know how Instagram works based on what you see, Google based on your history. These models are like that, but it's your own data and it will predict your analysis. That's pretty cool, yeah. From stock market aligned with your text prompt to perform a task. Yeah, I think that's very cool. I'll have to pay attention to that space more. Dark Hero, I think you need to read the paper about chain of thought. Is this? I think someone already recommended me this. This one? I think I might have this one saved off already. Oh goodness. Although I do know, like, I haven't read the chain of thought paper, but I do understand what chain of thought is. I don't find it particularly groundbreaking myself, but it I personally actually find the reasoning models at times to feel like they're almost dumb. Or they like overthink things, in my opinion. Oh, yep, I already have this one. uh, I haven't made my way through all these papers yet, but I've been collecting them with the best of intentions to find time to read. Could you check your Discord? What? Discord? Oh man, my Discord, I got a lot of messages. Why do I have so many messages? Oh yeah, hey, yeah, EDL. Like, if you guys think like you can, um, like the repo for this project is in the description of the stream. But if you guys think you can come up with better prompts than what Gemini has for me here, please send them on over. I'll be happy to. Indie AI Labs, thank you for subscribing. If you guys think you can write better prompts, please send them on over. I have no interest in being a prompt engineer, so I just let Gemini write the prompt, and then I iterate on it after I run evaluations. So if you think you have a better version of it, please send it on over. I will happily accept your contribution. You can send them in Discord, or if you want to open a PR, it's fine. If you want to join my Discord is at discord.stephenfreeborn.com. Yeah, I did see the paper Apple released that showed that like their performance actually degrades on like simpler tasks with reasoning models, which is kind of interesting. Stock market is 100% an application for TSLM. Scaling systems is also an application. Let's see. You can solve your task with Casper using initially LLMs, the ChatGPT open source from Olama, create different agents, and apply reflection and prompt optimization. Well, Dark Hero, you're new here, and that's we are trying to build a ghostwriter using agents. So I think you're new here, so you don't have the last 2 weeks of context, but yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. We're not using Olama though because I don't. I have Olama installed and I can run LLMs locally, but I don't have any dedicated hardware, so the inference is slow. And in my opinion, most people who are running around being like, local hosted LLMs are the future, blah, 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 I think they're full of shit because the amount of hardware, the amount of money you would have to invest in local hardware that you self-host to run LLMs on is a lot of money to have inference that matches what you can get from Gemini's API or ChatGPT's API. You have to invest, a couple $1,000s to get you some GPUs to actually make using a local LLM as useful as using one of these providers' APIs. It's just local inference is slow and it's not super useful unless I guess you've invested, thousands of dollars in the hardware, which if you have, great for you. I haven't. The paper by Apple is bullshit. They asked LLM to do a task that basically consumes the entirety of the tokens available, and they said LLM's dumb because it becomes harder and harder for the LLM to reason as it runs out of tokens, which we already knew. Yeah, but it still drives home the point, though, right? It still drives home the point that there's a fundamental flaw in the way you try to go about implementing chain of thought and reasoning. Like an auto-regressive LLM is by nature has a fundamental flaw to it. Its performance degrades the the larger the context window becomes, the worse it gets. That's the whole reason why you can't build an agent that has 150 different tools and an epically long system prompt, and then just make a be end all assistant, LLM powered assistant, right? Because the context window just becomes an issue. The size of that's the reason why agents are a thing. It's like they're like folders. They're a way to like conceptually, architecturally organize tools and prompts so that you don't overflow the context and negatively impact the performance of the LLM. If you ask the LLM to write algorithms instead, it produces valid Python code that can solve the questions it was asked about. The bigger problem now for LLMs is hallucinations. I would agree with that, but I keep being told that hallucinations are not a bug; they are a feature. They're creative. Gemma 3270M is good for local running. So what do you, Dark Hero? So if you're running models locally, what's your hardware setup? And what's your token per second? What's your inference speed? Because my experience with local LLMs is it's more like a party trick. It's cool that you can do it, but for actual usability, it's kind of shitty. It had the shittiest prompt ever. That's the point they proved. That if your system sucks, the LLM sucks. Fair enough. That's fine. Hallucinations are a bug, but I haven't run into big ones lately, so definitely improving. Well, that's good. Yeah, that's good. I mean, Copilot, like I said, the two services that I use the most and I pay for are Copilot and Gemini. And Gemini is great for what I use it for. I use Gemini mostly for ideation, generative. It acts as my prompt engineer a lot of times. And then Copilot, I think Copilot's a wonderful product. I really do. I think it's one of the better AI products out there. Dark Hero, RTX 2060, 12 gigabyte models up to 12 billion running. 12 gigabytes. So RTX 2060, well, how much is that? How much money is that? RTX 2060 cost. I don't have any dedicated GPUs. So this runs like Amazon, it looks like it runs like $300. So what's your token? At work I have an RTX A6000 and an H100. So what's your inference? So like how fast do you get back the tokens? Is it comparable to using one of these providers' APIs, or is it slower? How much are those things that you just said? RTX? Because this is my point. When you go around telling people, oh, you can just run models locally, but then it comes with, oh, but you need to spend $300 on hardware, or you need to spend $1,000 on hardware. Like that's not. You're gonna go to somebody like that's like the self-hosting thing problem again, right? It's like, oh, well, don't put all your data in the cloud, like security, data privacy, all that stuff. And then you're like, oh, but if you want to recreate what Google Drive gives you for $10, you need to spend $1,500 on a NAS and hard drives and an SSD, and you've got to learn how to network it and configure it on a VPN or make it publicly accessible. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, can you do it? Yes, but like, are people actually going to do it? Is it actually useful? Is it actually feasible? That's kind of where, for me, it's sort of like it's a party trick in a lot of cases, unless you're like really invested to making it happen. Real time when using small models less than 2B with my RTX 3060. So you're saying it's comparable if you're using smaller models, right? So you can do you can run things locally that are less capable, require dedicated hardware, which I'm like, well, just use Gemini's API. They have a free tier. Just use, Claude, Anthropic's API. Like, I don't know. It's not that I don't want local LLMs to be a thing. It's just that in today's world, I don't think that running models locally is really a viable solution to most people's use cases. You have an RTX A6000? That's a $5,000 GPU. Or at least that's what Amazon is telling me. That's crazy. I run models locally, but if you want to do it, you gotta spend $5,000. Oh shit, it's already 7 o'clock. Well, I'm sorry, guys. I got kind of distracted by all this language model talk, and I really didn't. I didn't do a very good job coding today. I did a lot of coffee drinking, a lot of chatting. Not a great job coding. Local LLMs are so much worse than a cheap open. I'm glad somebody else in chat is like, yes, this has been my experience too. Quality of small models are worse than big models. Yeah. And so that's where like my point isn't that local inference shouldn't be a thing. It's just in the current state of where models are today, it seems very difficult to execute on it in a meaningful or useful way, right? It's more of like, oh yeah, I can do it. Great. Let me go back to making API requests to actually power my apps. Nice code editor settings. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I put a lot of time into the NeoVim config earlier this year, and I've been really happy with it. I still use VS Code, and I still use Visual Studio from time to time, but hey, so I had to just do a very oh, great. Well, I'm glad you got to the solution, I Love Lamp. That's wonderful, man. You've been going hard in the paint while I've been over here running my mouth. I'm more sticky to Java, but all these new developments are tilting me towards Python. I badly want to develop dance models. I have huge data to train, but no hardware. Yeah, the hardware, man, it's tricky. Yeah, I haven't tilted to Python though. Yeah, I still prefer .NET and TypeScript, and I think if I really wanted to do a lot of meaningful work in AI or machine learning at a low level, I need to embrace Python more. Right now, I'm fine with being a quality engineer in my day job and doing web development in my free time, and I'm happy with where I'm at. I like being a part of the conversation. I like seeing all the developments. I like benefiting from them, but at this point, I don't have any aspirations of becoming a machine learning expert or anything like that. Colo of Malicia. That's quite a username. Hello. Yes, good to see you. All right, guys, it's 7 o'clock. I'm going to jump. I'll be back tomorrow. I appreciate y'all keeping me company, hanging out, listening to me talk, and not write code and drink coffee. If you want to interact with me outside of stream, the best place to find us, both chat and myself, is in our Discord. That's kind of the best place. So go to discord.stephenfreeborn.com. Otherwise, you'll probably see me in tomorrow's stream, or you'll see me in a short, or maybe a video on my channel. So, otherwise, I hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday. If it's already Tuesday for you, have a good Tuesday. If I don't see you tomorrow, I hope you have a great rest of your week. All right, guys. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye. Bye, Lamp. Bye, Pablo. Thanks for hanging out, Pablo. Good to see you again, man. Bye, Dark Hero. Good conversation. Bye, Chiton. See ya. Anybody else? See you, chat. Bye, guys. Bye.